All right. I always like to start the videos off with a little bit of stuff that might help you out a little bit. You can't really see the stains, but because of these trees, these shingles, over time, this roof was put on in 2017, the shingles will dry out, okay? And the mold and mildew will get into those shingles and the roof will look like hell. And of course the HOA, they're like, you need to fix your roof, you need to fix your roof. I couldn't give a crap what the shingles look like, but the HOA cares. And anyway, there's a roof treatment called Rejuvenate. And it's about $2,000, it ain't cheap, man. But they're gonna come in and they're gonna retreat. And by the way, it was recommended by a roofer, the guy that actually put my roof on. So I know it's a legitimate, and he said it will make that roof look a lot better. And what they're telling me is that once these shingles have the oils back in them, that mold and mildew, not only will it kill it, it'll keep it from coming back. So I won't have to get up there and work on that roof. And boy, that's a blessing to me. It's worth $2,000. But I also wanted to show you this right here. So we're going to talk about planting tomato plants. It's hard to grow tomatoes here in Florida. And by the way, these cages are worthless. Okay, don't even bother with them. They're just there temporarily until I can build a trellis. Because what you want to do is you want to come up about 8 feet above the tomatoes and have a string that hangs down, and you can buy at Amazon what's called tomato plant clips. And I've got all of that. I just haven't built the trellis yet. And of course, until the trellis is made, I've got this temporary arrangement. Now, when I planted these tomato plants, I wanted to show you that plant right there was probably about, 1.5 feet. So most of the plant went, or at least half of the plant went underground. Same with this one right here, and same with that one right there. Because you actually don't just plant the roots of the tomato plant in the ground. This is according to the nursery. I'm just taking their word for this. I'm not an expert on all of this. But they said put about half the plant down in the ground. And then, of course, you got to water them in. You know, tomato plants require a lot of water. That's why I got the water running right here. Anyway, so, and also you told me to put Epsom salt in there. But I also put some tomato fertilizer that you can buy at Walmart. And then I put some bone meal in there and some, daggone it, kelp. You can buy kelp. You can buy a 60-pound bag of kelp at Amazon, and it'll last you forever. Now, that stuff does smell bad, but it's supposed to be really good for the plants. Now, whether it's good for tomatoes, I don't know. These are things I have on hand, and I can't imagine that it wouldn't be. So we'll see how these tomatoes do. We'll get another video on that later on. And I just wanted to show you this. These are pineapple plants, and they require a lot of water too. But and they take it takes you about two to 3 years to get pineapples. You can see they're doing real well, and these are my Charlie Brown blueberry bushes, and then of course this is the blackberry bush. All right, let's get into today's video. Oh, before we get into the video, I wanted to show you this real quick. This is a lemon tree. Now, one of the things that I've been in the process of doing is taking trees out around the house, and I've got one on the other side, which is a crepe myrtle. And what I want to do is replace that with a fruit tree. So you can see what I'm stressing here is grow your own food, man. Bobby Kennedy's talking about the autism rates. We're going to get into that in the video because everybody's eating all this processed food. You know, all these old people hate vegetables. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, every old person, anybody above 60 years old, they hate vegetables and they hate fruit, anything fresh, you know. They're just, because if you start growing it, they get upset. But anyway, so, maybe live out in the country somewhere instead of buying in an HOA like I did. All right, let's get into the video now. There he is, the boss dog. We won't have him on the video because this is my last day with him. He goes back to the old Democrat battle axe, the ex-wife, tomorrow. Anyway, you can see it's hot the way he's panting. Let's get into it. Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. April 17th, 2025. Let's get into it. Of course, as I'm making this video, we had a shooting at Florida University 1 hour from my house, as a matter of fact. And, there's all kinds of different details. Todd Stearns reported that there was multiple shooters. I'm sure that by the time you watch this video, every news station will be carrying this story for the next week. Of course, the Democrats will be screaming, gun control, gun control, gun control. Anyway, so who knows? The only thing I did want to tell you that you're probably not going to hear about is what I was amazed on X. You know, I found out about the story before I came out and made this video, was that Dan Bongino was on scene. And I'm not sure if Kash Patel was there or not, but both of them posted right away in total transparency about the incident. And from what I understand, so Dan Bongino said he was on his way back to Washington, D.C. from the scene. So I don't know, what took place, but the thing that I found most heartwarming was the fact that the FBI is actually doing its job. I mean, they're not arresting grandmas no more for being on January 6th, and they're not going to churches, arresting priests and Catholics. They're actually out doing criminal stuff. And in fact, I got a post from Dan Bongino. A lot of people on X are complaining about the FBI. They say, well, when are we going to see some arrests? When are we going to see some arrests? Well, they're focused right now on all the criminal gangs that the Biden administration, or that the Democrats wanted in the United States. So they're really doing a good job cleaning up all of these drug cartels that the Democrats were using to kill Americans. So they're getting that all cleaned up. So that's where their focus is right now. There's only so much that they can do. I mean, good Lord, they've only been in office 100 days. Now, are they going to start arresting people? Well, Letitia James, that seems to be the first person that might get criminally prosecuted. I'm sure if you watch the news, you've heard all about that story, so I won't go into it. But I just wanted to give you the good news. The next topic I wanted to get onto was your health. Now, I've noticed that people are liking the health portion of the video. So from this point on, unless I hear otherwise, I'm going to start including a section of the video where we talk about something important to your health. And I've got to, because a lot of people are posting good information on X, and we'll get into that towards the end of the video, but right up front, I'll give you a couple of good things. So if you didn't know, RFK Jr. came out and said that he's got a task force at FDA that's just their sole mission is to figure out why the autism rates in children have gone up so high. And he says, we'll have a report by September. So we actually have a government buying for, or an FDA that's buying for the people, it sounds like. And there's a lot of things that he's doing. And people are saying, well, when's he going to do this? When's he going to do that? Well, gosh. I mean, first he had to clean it out. There were a lot of Democrats in the FDA that hate the American people, and they want to see everybody dead. I keep telling you that. A lot of people don't understand that. Democrats hate you, man. They hate hate the United States. Otherwise, why else would you want open borders? Why else would you want child trafficking? Why would you want women getting raped? Why would you want to bring in terrorists? Why would you want to bring in criminal gangs? Why would you bring fentanyl and kill over 100,000 people? Don't tell me the Democrats aren't pure evil, man. All right, so get on my box about that, because it really gets me. The other little tip I want to give you, and I bought it, is kimchi. Kimchi is great for your biome, your gut biome, okay? Now, I didn't think I would like kimchi, but I got you can buy it in the pill form, and there's places that sell it, but I recommend you get it get it in a jar. I mean, or make your own. It's a hell of a process to make your own, but of course that would be the best way to go about it. If you wanted to take a whole day, at least it would take me a whole day. But no, you can buy it in the jar. I can't remember if I got it. I think I got it from Walmart. If you just look up kimchi. Anyway, it's really, really good for you. And I'm going to tell you what, If you got a sub, put it on that sub, man. It tastes good. At least I like it. If you got a hot dog, put it on that hot dog, man. Those are two things that I love putting it on. And it, you know, there's some other things that I can't think of right now. But I'm gonna tell you what, it is tasty. I mean, a lot of people don't like the taste. I like it a lot. So there you go. There's two things for you. So let's get into some geopolitics. Well, actually, let's hit on some local stuff first. All right, the story out of Texas is Ken Paxton's going to primary that RINO, what is his name, John Clayton, I can't remember. Anyway, he's a Bush Republican. You can't really call him a Republican. He's a Democrat. He actually voted for gun control in Texas. You can imagine how unpopular gun control would be in Texas, but he actually voted for it. That tells you, as a senator, what he thinks about the Texas citizens. He couldn't give a crap about Texas. The other thing, and so of course Biden came out and praised him, you know, said, oh man, we're so glad that you crossed the aisle and voted with all the Democrats for gun control. There was another issue that he voted on. Well, there's certain votes for every spending bill that there is, and he took a stance on something else. Oh, the wall. He was against building the wall in Texas. So he's for open borders. So don't tell me this Republican senator out of Texas doesn't need to be primaried. I hope somebody in Texas actually watches this video, because we got to get this guy out and get Ken Paxton. And Paxton, by the way, is a huge supporter of Trump. He's friends with Trump. Now, whether, you know, Trump hasn't endorsed him, not yet. I imagine that he will. The next story, getting to local politics, let's talk about North Carolina for just a minute. And you say, well, why do you always do stories on North Carolina? Well, number one, there's always good stories out of North Carolina. Number two, I got a lot of relatives there. But anyway, the most recent story, and I've got a video on it. And so I'll just tell you about it 2 seconds and then we'll watch the video. But anyway, the Supreme Court just ruled that what happened was there was a razor thin margin in Texas, in North Carolina Supreme Court. See, they have elections, and by the way, they actually announced party, and the Democrats somehow won the Supreme Court challenge. Well, because it was a razor thin margin, the vote count was questioned, and the election board said that 60,000 of the votes were cast incorrectly. And by North Carolina law, those votes cannot be permitted. But when it went to the Supreme Court, they said, nope, we're going to permit those votes. So now the question is, what's the point of having election laws? I mean, if the Supreme Court of North Carolina is going to say that the election laws don't matter, what's the point of having them? Let's watch that video now.
Forcing the state to count tens of thousands of votes that are missing crucial details required by law, such as having no driver's license number and no last 4 digits of their social security numbers on file. And this decision of theirs is crucial given the fact that the election in question is currently split by only 700 votes, meaning that this one decision can actually change the outcome of the race. And also, it creates a fascinating loophole where you have state election laws be very clear about what can and cannot be done, but if the state elections board decides to not follow the laws, well, it doesn't matter. Those votes will still be counted, and seemingly no one will be held accountable. Let's go through the details together. Getting back to the story, let's rewind the clock back to August of 2023. That was when a man by the name of Michael Morgan, he stepped down from his position as a justice on the North Carolina State Supreme Court, leaving a vacancy. And as per the state constitution, that vacancy was filled with an appointment by the governor. And as such, the next month, in September of 2023, the Democrat North Carolina governor appointed a Democrat by the name of Allison Riggs to fill the vacancy. And the reason I mentioned that she is a Democrat is because North Carolina is a bit unique in that they have actual partisan elections for the state Supreme Court. And so, for example, in states like Wisconsin, as just one example, they have elections for the state Supreme Court, but those candidates are not identified by party affiliation. They're all politically unaffiliated. But in North Carolina, justices on the state Supreme Court, they serve for 8-year-long terms, and when they run for office, they overtly identify with one or the other political party. And so you fast forward to November of 2024, and the actual election for that spot on the Supreme Court was held. Because Allison Riggs was not elected, she was appointed, she had to go through the election process as the Democrat incumbent candidate. Opposing her was a man by the name of Jefferson Griffin. He was the Republican candidate who, prior to running for the state Supreme Court, he served as a judge on the North Carolina Court of Appeals. And so, between these two, the election was held in November of last year. You had 5.5 million total ballots cast, and when the dust settled, the Democrat incumbent won. Ms. Allison Riggs won the election by 734 votes. Now, because that margin of victory was so slim, razor slim, literally 0.01%, multiple recounts were had. However, all 3 recounts found the same thing, that the Democrat candidate had won. However, Mr. Griffin did not take the supposed loss lying down. And instead of conceding the race, he filed a lawsuit in North Carolina State Court, arguing that roughly 60,000 votes should actually be disqualified, given the fact that the voters who cast those ballots had voter registrations on file that did not include their driver's license number and or the last 4 digits of their social security number. This lawsuit of his, it stopped the state elections board from being able to officially certify Ms. Riggs as the winner of the election, pending resolution to the case. Now, eventually, the case made its way up to the North Carolina Appeals Court, wherein Mr. Griffin won. And for your reference, Mr. Griffin is a judge on the appeals court, but he did recuse himself from the case. Regardless, though, in a 2-to-1 split decision, the appeals court ruled that there were likely tens of thousands of ballots that were wrongly allowed to be included in the final count because those ballots came from people who did not comply with state law and or the state constitution. Just for your general reference, it has been a requirement since the year 2004 that voters must have their registration paperwork include either their driver's license number and or the last 4 digits of their social security number in order to be considered valid to vote. However, it appears that the state elections board has been failing to enforce this requirement for many years now. And also, it's worth noting that besides just this, there was another category of military and overseas voters who did not provide a copy of their photo ID with their ballots, which is also a requirement by state law. Basically, what happened is that state law said one thing, but the state election board appeared to have been very loose with enforcing those laws, to the point that you had, on the one hand, upwards of 60,000 people without the required information in their registration still vote, and also you had overseas voters who did not attach the necessary photo ID to their ballots still vote. Now, as a part of their actual ruling, the appeals court, they, quote, gave voters whose ballots have been challenged 15 business days to provide the necessary verifying information, such as driver's license or social security numbers, to prove their voter eligibility. Meaning that whether it was the overseas military voters or just the people whose registration paperwork was missing those numbers, they all had 15 business days to fix the problem. Also, it is worth mentioning that besides the 60,000 incomplete registrations and the overseas military personnel without IDs, there was actually another class of people whose votes were overturned by this case. Quote, a third category affects possibly hundreds of overseas voters who have never lived in the United States. According to the appeals court, their ballots cannot be counted due to violations of state residency law. Now, if all this is getting too confusing to follow, let me summarize it simply by saying the following. The appeals court found 3 buckets of people. The first bucket was roughly 60,000 voters whose registration paperwork was incomplete. They had 15 days to fix it up in order to have their vote count. Then the second bucket was overseas and military voters without a photo ID. They were also given 15 days to fix.
All right, so that was that video. Anyway, I don't know. I just wanted to hit on those 2 political things first. Let's see, where do I want to go next? Well, let's hit on Ukraine for just a minute. Right now, in the Sumy region, the Russians are advancing big time. They just took over a whole church complex. And if you didn't know, they hit, I can't remember the town, but anyway, the Ukrainians were dumb enough to hold a ceremony where they had a bunch of, I guess, high-ranking Ukrainian officers and stuff, and a lot of troops all gathered in one place. And they actually announced it ahead of time. So of course Russia's going to take advantage of that. And they hit it with, I don't know how many Chemsal, might have been just 2 Chemsal missiles. And man, I guess the death toll of all those officers and stuff was really high. And of course, the guy that put it all together, he's been fired now, as he should have been. I mean, why in the world would you be holding a award ceremony in the middle of a war or a special military operation? I don't get it. But the other story, let's see, there was another one out of Ukraine. Well, we'll get to it here in a bit. I tell you, it's hard to talk about all these things when I don't have my notes in front of me. So we'll get into some other stories here in just a minute. I'm trying to rack my brain. There's 3 or 4 others that we're going to get to. Sorry, I'm going to take a break. The heat's getting to me. All right, let's continue the video after I thought about things. While we were on Ukraine, the other big story is, and I got a post on this that I'm going to read to you because I thought it was, well, it's not funny, but it does give you the Russian sentiment on the post. Dog's going crazy here. Was it looks like they want to send troops into Odessa so that they can control it. Now, the Russians have said if Britain and France send in the troops, they're going to die. They're going to kill them. So it's up to Britain and France and maybe even, you know, I don't know if the Germany's committed troops or not, but on the German side, they're saying they're going to send in their Taurus missiles. Now, Russia said they're going to look at that as a direct attack because those missiles can only be launched if there's German troops on the ground in Ukraine. And from what I understand, they're air-launched missiles. So I'm not even sure if they might even have German pilots. And you have to understand, you're saying, well, why didn't they attack the United States when we sent ATACMS? Or why didn't they attack Great Britain for Storm Shadows? You got to remember who was on the other side of the war in World War II. Germany. Germany killed 25 million Russians during the war. Of course, then it was the Soviet Union. So the Russians don't take kindly on Germany coming in against them, especially if those missiles hit deep into Russia. We don't know how effective the Russian air defense is going to be against those missiles. So what I'm suspecting is if Germany does this, I bet there's some Oreshniks who are going to be landing in Germany. Now you say, well, won't that invoke Article 5? I don't think so, because Germany's going to be taking a direct part, and Russia's already warned them in the conflict. So can't get the dog to move. Hold on, let me get the dog. Sorry about that. Had to put the dog back in the basket. That's why I have a basket, because sometimes he just, on the way out, he won't walk, but he'll walk on the way back. All right, enough on the dog. Anyway, the other news, and don't quote me on this, I don't know this 100% certain, but this is what I heard, is that the new German, I don't know whether you call him prime minister or president or whatever it is, chancellor. Anyway, evidently his father was either a Nazi collaborator or a Nazi himself. And so what the Russians are saying is, well, they haven't come out and said that the chancellor's a Nazi, but that's the way they're interpreting it if he launches missiles into Russia. And Germany better remember what happened in World War II. I mean, when you think about it, when the Red Army got to Germany, it wasn't a pretty scene. From what I understand, every woman that had any looks about her got raped by the Red Army, and they brutalized the German people. Well, Germany, I think you're about to get brutalized again, except this time it'll just be a few Oreshniks coming in and landing on your head. I can't believe Germany wants to go to war with Russia one more time. Blows my mind. Anyway, then we get to Iran, or the Middle East. And the news that this is good news. So it seems like there's 2 factions in the Trump administration. You got the neocons that just want to bomb Iran. And then you got like the Tulsi Gabbard, I imagine, who's, by the way, briefs Trump, my understanding is every day. And she's, giving him advice saying, look, if we do that, we could start a regional war because Iran's already threatened to blow up the Saudi oil fields. And of course, we got 50,000 troops within range of their missiles. So we have a lot of Americans dying. And I imagine a few planes would get shot down. So, you're looking, and then and especially if they launch on Israel, Israel's got nukes. So you could see how that whole thing could just get blown up way out of proportion. And believe me, Iran's armed to the teeth. This is not Iraq. By the way, I mean, Iraq, even though Iraq had nothing to fight with, they still did a good job. They got a lot of those Scud missiles off, which weren't very good. But one of them almost hit the base where I was down in Jabber, Kuwait. So you think that the Iranians, who have, from what I understand, 10 times, 20 times, maybe 100 times more missiles, and we're talking hypersonics. Anyway, so the good news is that it looks like they're going to negotiate. Now, Scott Ritter came out with an article saying how, you know, he's not saying he's for bombing Iran, but he's saying we do have to do something about their nuclear program. Now, the good news here is it looks like they're talking in back channels right now. So maybe, I think Trump has backed off on his threats to bomb Iran. So that would be good. And also remember that Russia's right next door. Now, Russia has a defense agreement with Iran, but Russia doesn't want Iran to have a nuclear missile. So now we're talking to Russia. So I imagine we could enter into some sort of agreement where Russia and the United States work together to make sure Iran is not capable of building a nuclear bomb, okay, within a year. That's kind of where the old treaty was. And if we could just go back to that, that'll be fine, you know, because we don't want a regional war in the Middle East, especially not while we're at war with Russia. And when I say we, the United States is at war with Russia right now. So if you want to, you say, well, or you could call it a United States special military operation against Russia, is what we're actively engaged in Ukraine, at least for a while longer. Now, Trump did come out and call it Biden's war, and everybody's been telling Trump that's what he's got to do. He's got to distance himself from the conflict and say this wasn't his war. This is a Democrat war. Democrats are warmongering lunatics. You have to understand that. A lot of them really wanted to destroy the world. They got us to the brink of global thermonuclear war and definitely understand that. And they didn't care. I mean, you know, when we launched ATACMS missiles into Russia, imagine if Russia parked a submarine off the coast of California and started launching missiles into the United States. What do you think our reaction would be? Oh my God, I mean, so I'm just glad that Putin, everybody wants to give Putin a hard time. You know, Putin's a lawyer. And I don't know how he did, because there were a lot of people in Russia screaming, you know, let's strike back. You know, let's hit the NATO countries. Let's hit the United States. And Putin, he took it. Well, also the ATACMS luckily proved not to be very effective, and they were able to counter them quite well. They still did damage, but it wasn't enough that Russia felt like they needed to go to all-out war. Believe me, that'd be the end of the world. So we came damn close to that, thanks to the damn Democrats. The other story I wanted to get on was the Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court. Looks like they're going to take up, now if you didn't know, Trump was questioning the constitutionality of birthright citizenship. Given the fact that the Democrats imported 20 million illegal immigrants, trafficked over 100,000 kids into child pedophilia, brought women in who got raped on the way here, and then put them in brothels. The Democrats did all of that. So anyway, but they're gonna take up the case of birthright citizenship, because Trump's saying, look, they're here illegally, and if they have a child in the United States, we don't have to give them citizenship. All right, I got somebody coming up here, so I'm gonna take a break. We're gonna get to the sit-down portion of the video here in just a minute. It looks like the dog's ready to roll now, so we'll get back to the video in just a sec. All right, well, we can't do the sit-down because the bench is in the sun. I wouldn't be able to see my notes here, so we'll just do it standing up today. But anyway, I wanted to tell you a quick story. Somebody actually posted on my comments, because I hadn't made a video in a while. Number one, I don't make no money. So I'm inclined sometimes when I'm not, you know, not feeling motivated to not make a video, but the reason I hadn't made this video till today was the last time I was out, the price I pay was something got up my pants. And man, it bit me about 4 times. And I mean, because I don't have any feeling in my legs because of when I broke my neck. And man, it just chewed on me, and it was, it looks bad. I won't show it to you. I don't want to gross you out. Just TMI, right? Too much information. So I haven't been out. I've been treating that area as best I can individually. But I did want to start the stand-up portion of the video talking about the Catholic charities. The Catholic charities, this is why I could never be a member of the Catholic religion, and this is why I don't understand everybody's wanting to support the Pope. But the Catholic charities were trafficking children across straight lines in the United States. And I imagine other church groups were doing the same with the NGOs. So if you're a member of a church organization, you better be checking to see what's going on behind the scenes, because that's pure evil, man. But I got a great video. Whether you like Alex Jones or you hate him, this is Alex Jones being Alex Jones. I love it.
Hey, we need the police over here. They got a bunch of kids without their car seats. Hey, they're piling in that car right now.
You got a car seat for them? You got a car seat? That's illegal, bro. Where are you taking these kids? That's illegal.
If you get in a traffic accident, those
Where
kids
are
are
you
going to get
taking
hurt.
these kids? You have a car seat.
That's illegal.
How is this Christian?
Hey, we need the police over here. They got a bunch of
Where
kids
you
without their
taking
car
these kids?
seats. You're violating Texas law.
Who is this right here?
Hey,
You have no comment. See,
You
this
got
is
those
Christ
children
like.
there illegally.
You're about to run a human being over. Hey,
You
who
got
are
those
you?
children in there.
Who are you?
You got those
Who are
smuggled
you?
children illegally.
Who are you? Where are you taking these
You're
children?
smuggling children.
Are you a part of
You
this
got to be legally in that vehicle.
You're not a part of this organization? Who are you? Where are you
We
taking
know you're
these
smuggling
kids?
these kids.
Where
Now
are you
got
taking
them
these
in the
kids?
back of there without children
Where are you
seats.
taking these kids? Sir, identify
This is
who
the
you
massive
are.
smuggling.
This is literally human smuggling. These are children. Where are you taking these kids?
And now,
Sir,
they
where
get
are you
video from
taking
the front.
these kids?
They don't even have car seats.
Sir,
They don't have their seatbelts
their
on.
seatbelts aren't even on.
They
Where
break
are you
all
taking
laws.
these children? Sir, identify yourself. Who are you?
Fucking hit me. I'll tell you right fucking
Who do you work for?
Be deep shit.
Are you a part of this organization?
No, sure. I don't know.
So you don't know where these kids are going?
They're going to check the Cody over there.
No, they came from over there. They're not being checked for COVID. So you don't know who you work for?
Call the police.
We need to call the police right now. I want to know where these kids are going.
You are violating state law. You have children.
They're not going there. You're not making any sense, sir. Identify yourself. Who are you?
Kids out of that back, man. If somebody rear ends you, those kids are going to get hurt.
Doing that in our How do you know? Go to the southern border. That's the mom? Yeah, all sorts of fucked up.
All right, so that was Alex Jones. We're going to get into some more food and stuff topics, but I want to start with the Babylon Bee. I thought we got to get something funny on the video, right? The Babylon Bee. Democrats call for an individual court hearing for everyone on Earth to prove they aren't American citizens. Come on, you got to think that's hilarious. I thought that was funny as hell. We already did the North Carolina story. Let's see. Today was the House Subcommittee hearing on Doge, entitled Federal Foreclosure Reducing and Federal Real Estate Portfolio. This is just a little factoid for you. Did you know that according to the Government Accountability Office, as of fiscal year 2023, the federal government owned approximately 420 million square feet of office space, costing nearly $2 billion annually to operate. 25% remains unused. Despite the reduced office occupancy during COVID-19, remember I'm not even sure they've come back. Well, maybe some of them did come back to work. Federal agencies reportedly spent $4.6 billion on office furniture since fiscal year 2021. Notably, the Department of Transportation, with a 9% occupancy rate, spent $55 million, while the Department of Justice, at 35% occupancy, expended $408 million. The Trump administration is terminating 657 leases, resulting in an estimated $350 million in savings. During COVID, these people didn't even come to work. And by the way, on a side note, There's a couple of videos that went around X of Kari Lake. By the way, you know she won the election in Arizona. Right now they're finding out about Maricopa County. That county's so big, it decides all the elections in Arizona, and they cheat. It gets a Democrat county, and they cheat. All that information's coming out now. I don't know if she'll ever run again. I probably not, unless we can get the elections cleaned up. And that's why I gave you the example of the elections in North Carolina. They can't even clean up the elections in North Carolina. And that's a somewhat Republican state. So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting read. But this gets back to the actual statements that I told you about the Taurus missiles with Russia. Russia will regard any strike by the Taurus cruise missile on any Russian targets as Germany's participation in military operations on the side of Ukraine, a direct statement from the Russian Foreign Ministry. Merz needs to understand this, she stressed. That's the new Prime Minister. Foreign Ministry, Zach, you can read it. Chancellor candidate Friedrich Merz previously said that Germany could transfer missiles to Ukraine. He named the Crimean Bridge among possible targets for strikes. You understand the Crimean Bridge? That's a major piece of Russian infrastructure. That'd be like bombing the Mackinac Bridge up in Michigan. That'd be, and if they hit it with Taurus, I guarantee you, Germany, you're going to get hit with the Reshniks, no doubt in my mind. And this is, I tell you, Dmitry Medvedev. He's the bulldog for Putin, and he posts some. I mean, they're almost funny, but you know, I just love his posts on X. Apparently, the top of Ukraine's fascist clique have come to Paris for talks with the UK, Germany, and France on how many European coffins they will be ready to accept after the deployment of troops of the coalition of the willing in Ukraine. I'm sorry, I guess I got a sick sense of humor, but I just thought that was pretty funny. So this is a little medical tip for you. Someone please explain how this is not a national security threat in a health crisis. And this is by Wall Street Apes. 60% of all pork is produced by one company in the United States, and that is 100% owned by the Chinese. Did not know. 4 companies control over 80% of the meat industry in the United States. More than 10,000 different additives are allowed in the U.S. food supply. I'm hoping that, getting back to Robert Kennedy, let's hope that he gets the fluoride. We can't even get the fluoride out of the water. We all know that fluoride is poison. You know, I don't even understand it. And by the way, in Europe, the number that, if I'm recalling this correctly, is only 400 additives to the European food, 1,000 here in the United States. Don't tell me that Big Pharma and Big Food haven't taken over our food, and you wonder why autism rates are on the rise. 99% of chicken, 95% of hogs, and 78% of cattle in the United States are raised in confinement buildings or feedlots. Means they're not moving around freely. Well, we knew about chickens. If you ever go through North Carolina, you'll see all the big chicken houses, you know, all along the road. And by the way, if you didn't know, when it says cage-free chicken, that just means they opened the little door to the building. The chickens just stayed inside. They had to keep it open for, I can't remember, it's like 10 minutes. Boom, they can shut that door and they can say that's a cage-free chicken. There you go. 80% of the antibiotics consumed in the United States are fed to animals. In 2016, 18.4 million pounds of antibiotics were sold for livestock. And that's what you're eating. Suicide rates among farmers are the highest than any other profession, and that includes veterans. Believe it or not, I found that alarming. Sean Ryan. And there's a video with that. I haven't watched the video, but if it's good, I will play it. It's right here.
4 companies control over 80% of the meat industry in the United States. More than 10,000 different additives are allowed in the U.S. food supply. 99% of chicken, 95% of hogs, 78% of cattle in the U.S. are raised in confinement buildings or feedlots. Means they're not moving around freely. 80% of the antibiotics consumed in the U.S. are fed to animals. Here's a stat. In 2016, 18.4 million pounds of antibiotics were sold for livestock. And that's what you're eating. Suicide rates amongst farmers are the highest than any other profession, and that includes veterans, believe it or not. I found that alarming.
Okay. So now this is what I was talking about. This is what, people are saying that the FBI or the government, there hasn't been any arrests. There haven't been any arrests. I told you they're focused on all the criminal gangs that the Democrats brought into the country to kill you and me, okay? So the FBI leadership just received an update on our immigration efforts since January 20th, 2025, Inauguration Day, right? As of this morning, over 6,000 subjects detained and arrested, 310 Trendiagras members, 136 MS-13 members. We have so much more to do, but thanks to the leadership of this administration and Pam Bondi, your hardworking FBI teams and our regional law enforcement partners, we're making America safe every single day. Democrats hate that. They can't stand you and me being safe. I can tell you that right now. No way, no how. It's funny. I would love for you to go approach your Democrat neighbor and say, look, man, we got some gang members. We need to house them somewhere, so we'd like to put them in your house. Would you do that for us? Because you seem to want them in the country. This is we're going to do this in a future video, but it talks about Russia. And it's going to be an interesting. The Roman emperor spent his life proving it. You're not in control of your emotions, and it goes into all of that. But I want to get back to the food, and I thought this is called the better path, and the latest media lie. These foods are poison, but they're actually superfoods. Here are 12 that you should consume daily. Coconut oil. Media myth. Coconut oil has artery clogging saturated fat and should be banned. Reality, it boosts brain power with MCTs, fights fat with healthy fats, kills bacteria like a boss. An excellent choice. And these have videos, and we're going to just watch them one by one. Let's watch that video.
Exactly what coconut oil does. There's really three main things that it will do for you. And no, it's not bad for the heart. No, it's not a poison. Coconut oil will boost the HDL, which is the so-called good cholesterol. First one, supporting your brain. A significant amount of coconut oil is MCT. This is a type of fat that turns into ketones. Ketones actually protect the nerve and brain cells against stress. There are three main fatty acids in coconut oil. The first one is caprylic, then capryl, and then lauric acid. So these acids are antibacterial, antifungal, anti-candida and yeast, and on top of that, antiviral. The third big benefit is giving you more energy because MCT oil does not require digestive enzymes. It gets absorbed directly into the body.
All right. Salmon contains vitamin A, D, and E, vitamins B2, B3, B5, B6, and B12. Omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, many other minerals and antioxidants. But should you consume one caught, the one that's caught in its natural habitat and not the one from a farm. Another video.
Out of all the foods on the entire planet, the last one I will put in my precious vessel is farm-raised salmon. This stuff is chock full of unbelievable ingredients that wreak havoc on your body, including microplastics. These fish are also swimming around in circles in their own feces. They're also dwelling in all sorts of dead contaminants. It is repulsive what is in this slob of meat right here. Not to mention that it's also colorized to give it more of a vibrancy, even though it's not even really that color. It's typically really gray before this coloration here. So if you are gonna have salmon, go for the wild sockeye and don't eat it all too much. Maybe 2 times a week at most, because it is loaded up in these heavy metals, microplastics, parasites, things that are not gonna be good for your vessel. What do you guys think? Salmon, good or not?
All right. Butter. Now this one I knew. You don't want margarine. Don't ever buy margarine. Butter, myth. It's high in saturated fat and clogs arteries. Fact. Butter, especially butter from grass-fed animals, is a source of vitamins A, D, E, and K. In moderation, it can be part of a healthy diet. Another video.
More butter. Now I'm talking about proper butter, not margarine or low-fat versions that are just toxic. Artificial, made with inflammatory seed oils and devoid of any nutrition. I mean, just read the ingredients list on the pack and see for yourself. Now compare that to the ingredients in real butter. It's just cream, fat, and a little salt. Now do not buy this myth that high fat makes you fat. Our bodies need fat to function properly. Butter is rich in fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. It contains CLA, omega-3, and MCTs, which are extremely good for the heart. High-fat foods like butter, alongside an animal-based diet, will get you feeling and looking your best. And plus, it tastes unreal.
All right. Dark chocolate. I knew about this one. Don't get the Hershey's chocolate, or if you get I think Hershey's might have a dark chocolate. But I tell you what, you'll develop a taste for it. At first, I know dark chocolate might not taste all that great. I've gotten to where I like it better. You know, I mean, I still get my Milky Way bar every now and then. Don't get me wrong. You gotta do something evil in your diet. But anyway, let's read this. Medium myth: chocolate is a sugary indulgence that ruins your health. Reality: dark chocolate, 70% cocoa and more, is rich in flavonoids, which improve blood flow, reduce blood pressure, and boost brain function. It also contains magnesium and iron. The catch: avoid milk chocolate or sugar-laden varieties. Limit yourself to a small square or two. Let's watch that.
Dark chocolate has a lot of good stuff in it.
Yeah.
You know, so the dark chocolate's one, I think that people that are really craving that can feel good, because there's EGCG in dark chocolate, which is what's in green tea. EGCG is one of those, you know, normal plant compounds that are doing an hormetic response. It's been shown to cause brain cells to grow. It's anti-cancer. It kills cancer cells. It also is really good for your skin. Prevents your skin collagenase from being broken.
You know, one thing I wonder with that post, what about fudge? I wonder if fudge is okay. Somebody leave me a comment. I don't know about, because my grandmother used to make fudge, and I'm going to tell you what, it was great. I don't know how to make fudge, unfortunately. Eggs, especially the yolks. By the way, eggs are supposed to be good for dogs too. At least that's what I see on YouTube. I don't know these things. Like I said, I just read them to you, and you know, if I'm leading you astray, I'm being led astray too. But some of these, I have alternate sources that have verified some of this information. Eggs, particularly the yolks, are cholesterol bombs that clog arteries and are bad to heart and lead to heart disease. Reality: eggs boost brain power with choline, build muscle with high-quality protein, and improve eye health with lutein. We have a video. Let's watch that now.
Making sure that we have enough of the substrates to create acetylcholine is vital if we want to be able to focus. And that's why dietary choline is so vital. And the primary source for dietary choline would be eggs, and in particular, egg yolks. Eggs are an incredibly rich source of nutrients for the brain. And that's because the egg actually, if you think about it, contains all the nutrients that are required in order for an organism to grow. You know, a bird that's in a eggshell, it's got the yolk there, and it's using that yolk for a reason. It's using that yolk as a source of fuel. It's using that yolk as a source of literally building blocks in order to create its nervous system.
All right. What's the other? Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to tell you is, if you're going to buy eggs, from what I understand, get the organic. The organic means the chicken had a bigger cage, from what I understand. And if you can get, I think it's organic free range, that might mean, I think it does, I'll have to look back on my notes, that the egg, it was an actual chicken that was outside. And also, support your local farmers, man. If you've got farmers or neighbors or whatever, depending on, you know, if you live in the country, go out and buy their eggs. You know, they're a hell of a lot better than anything you can get in the store, man. I'm just saying, you know. All right, potatoes. Medium myth: potatoes are carbohydrate-heavy foods full of starch that raises blood sugar and makes you fat. Reality: they're packed with vitamin C, immunity, loaded fiber for gut health, and rich in potassium to improve heart function. They also have a fantastic volume to calorie ratio. You know, isn't it a shame? I mean, wouldn't you rather have a baked potato than French fries? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do like, well, what is it? I'm like you, McDonald's fries with a bunch of salt on them are good, but man, I'm going to tell you, I love that loaded baked potato. When you put the broccoli in there and the melted cheese, to me, it's almost a meal. I would much rather have the baked potato than the fries. Let's watch that video.
People think baked potatoes are like these super high carb, crazy things. So a potato, when you heat it, is going to become high glycemic because the starch chains, the glucose chain, molecules that are in a starch chain, when you heat them, they separate and it becomes high glycemic. Okay. Now the interesting thing is, like, you're talking a food that's pretty darn simple and clean. You don't have to deal with grains. You really don't have to deal with any other issues in the fact that it's higher carbohydrate and it's a starch, but at least it's easy to assimilate. So I just encourage people to go for like a baked potato that doesn't have oil, that's just either microwaved if you want to microwave it, or literally bake it the night before and bake a bunch of them and put them in the fridge. You don't have any of the stuff that you would get from hash browns where you have a bunch of oil added to them, a bunch of other stuff. You're not looking at cereals, you're not looking at toast.
All right. This one I knew. So, see, the alternate sources on this one. And it's funny that the Mormon church has banned coffee. Now, that's probably because of the addictive nature of caffeine, okay? But coffee can be good for you. And let's read what he has to say and then watch the video. Coffee, media myth. Coffee dehydrates you, stresses your heart, and keeps you on edge. Reality, it boosts brain power, burns fat, contains antioxidants, and reduces the risk of disease. Let's watch that video.
Coffee. Yep, about 65% of American adults report drinking coffee every single day. And even more people enjoy the occasional coffee beverage. But what's the truth about coffee? Is it healthy or not? Good news, coffee is great for you if you make it the right way. It's loaded with some of the most powerful polyphenols in the world. And for a lot of people, it's the #1 source of polyphenols in their entire diet. In fact, with the polyphenol content in coffee being so high, it's no wonder that coffee has been linked to a huge number of health benefits, including mental benefits such as a sharper mind, improved focus, and less brain fog. A metabolic boost thanks to the caffeine content in coffee. Blood sugar support, which is so crucial for keeping energy levels steady, among other things. That's just the beginning of the health benefits coffee can support.
All right. Now, he jumped over it. Also, from what I understand, things like green tea, I mix a bag of green tea with a bag of peppermint tea. And then you can add a little bit of lemon juice to it. I'm gonna tell you, man, that's to me in the morning, that's as good as a cup of coffee. Or sometimes I'll have even the tea and the coffee, or just tea or coffee. But I'm just telling you, these are other things you might want to look into. And I'm sure there's other varieties of tea that are good for you. And this one I'd be careful of after the oil spill in the Gulf. But maybe these environments have come back. Oysters. Oysters have the nutrients that most animal foods possess, but they are even richer than most of them in zinc, copper, selenium, vitamin B12, C, and D, omega-3 fatty acids.
Go. Yes. Wow, that's clear as fuck.
Now, I was hoping that he would jump to sardines. I'm a big fan of sardines, and in the way that I eat them, you're like, oh, no, not sardines. That cybersecurity guy, you're sick, man, you're sick. No, what you do, what I like to do is I take the sardines, mix it, crush them up, put them in mayonnaise, mustard, whatever you want to use. I put a little bit of garlic in there, maybe a touch of Worcestershire sauce. I know this is sounding gross, but it actually tastes pretty good. And anything else you might want to put in there just to make it taste better, maybe some black pepper, and then put it on a saltine cracker. And man, I'm going to tell you, I can eat up a whole can of sardines in that fashion. It just makes a nice spread for the cracker. Now, I can't eat a sardine just as a sardine. Like I said, if I don't mix it up in that fashion and turn it into a spread for a cracker, by the way, the bugs have come out. I've killed 4 bugs on my neck just hiking up here. But unfortunately, that's bad. And by the way, I'm glad he put this one up because I'm getting ready to cook a filet mignon. Maybe not today. By the way, little tip for you cooking when you're when you get your meat, Southern Comfort is the worst. I mean, never buy Southern Comfort. It's just sugary. It's not even, it can't even be called a liquor in my opinion. But if you soak your red meat in Southern Comfort, pretty damn good. Might not be good for you because I've never heard anybody. But I'm going to tell you what, I like the taste of it when I soak my red meat in Southern Comfort. Try it. See what you think. You might not like it. Red meat, medium myth. Red meat causes cancer, heart disease, and premature death. Reality. Packed with protein to build muscle, loaded with iron for energy, rich in B12 for brain power. Don't let the media scare you away from this superfood. Let's watch that video.
Red meat is the only superfood, not kale or pomegranate or acai berry or however you pronounce that stuff. It's the only one where you can not only survive but thrive on. Really the foundation for the ultimate elimination diet. I think most famously Jordan Peterson and his daughter, and both of them said, look, I'm not recommending this for anybody else. Some very significant autoimmune issues. Folks out there who have significant autoimmune disorders or digestive distress who need an elimination diet and would go to a clinical registered dietitian and get an elimination diet as the prescription for remedying significant digestive distress, and we go straight for the carnivore diet as the initial intervention. That would be the ultimate elimination diet, initially at least, until we could see if we could get some relief from the symptoms and then reintroduce.
All right, on the red meat thing, you know, in the grocery store, you'll see it's a lot more expensive. You'll see grass-fed beef, okay? I'm taking them at their word. I don't know for sure if that's a free-range cow, and there's also there's two places. Free Ranchers, I think, is one place that supposedly that meat is supposed to be really good. I don't know on the other one. The one, what's the other mail order that says it's Angus beef? But anyway, you can do your own homework, but try to get the good beef or the good meat. Whole dairy, medium myth. Full fat dairy leads to obesity and heart disease due to saturated fat. Reality, it improves health with healthy fats, full of vitamins A, D, and K. Keeps you full, controls cravings, strengthens bones and calcium. The media is wrong. Consume it daily. So let's watch that video.
Are whole-fat dairy foods healthy? Ugh. Excuse me, that was all my dairy friends yelling yes. A recent study included the often taboo whole-fat dairy foods in a list of 6 key foods that are part of a healthy diet or pure score. Here are 3 important findings from the study. 1, a high pure score showed a significantly lower incidence of mortality and a lower risk for heart attack, stroke, and cardiovascular disease. 2, the pure score had a slightly stronger association with less death and cardiovascular disease than the Healthy Eating Index, Mediterranean, and DASH diets, all of which emphasize high fruit, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and fish intake, but don't include whole-fat dairy intake. 3, by identifying the most protective foods, the study exposes the very harmful, highly processed foods. So yes, whole-fat dairy foods are healthy when consumed in moderation, along with large amounts of fruits, vegetables, legumes, and nuts, and 2 to 3 servings of fish per week. You know, like that delicious orange, walnut, and salmon smoothie. As always, my answers come from peer-reviewed research, linked in the comments section.
All right, so one thing that I do when I'm at the grocery store is I buy the organic milk. Don't get the regular, and I always get whole milk. Don't bother with the skim and all of that. They're just skimming off the good portion of the milk. Unfortunately, from even organic, I think is pasteurized. If you really want good milk, you got to buy it from that Amish farmer in Pennsylvania. And I haven't ordered any milk from him. And I'm not sure because he's been in litigation for a while because they said his milk is not good for you and it's supposed to be fantastic. According to Robert Barnes, if you ever want to watch him and Viva Fry. Bread. Now, we've talked about bread in the past. You know, bread has, they put that, it's actually I can't remember the ingredient. I've told you in a past video. And it's to make the bread fluffy, but they also put a lot of preservatives in bread. You wonder why your bread doesn't mold real quick. So bread is really bad for you. You really got to look on the shelf. Now, the one I get is Dave's Killer Bread because it's whole grain. Get the whole grain. You want no matter what, get whole grain bread. I know it tastes a lot different than that processed white bleached crap that they sell for $1. You know, and you're going to pay $5 for a loaf of Dave's Killer Bread, but you might have to acquire a taste for it, but it's really good. So bread. Wholemeal or sourdough? Media myth. All bread is a carbohydrate disaster that makes you bloated and raises your blood sugar. Reality. Whole wheat or sourdough bread provides fiber, B vitamins, and minerals. The fermentation process of sourdough bread leaves its glycemic index and improves gut health by acting as a prebiotic. Studies link whole grains to a lower risk of heart disease and diabetes. Avoid white, I was just telling you this, avoid white bread that has little nutritional value. And before we watch the video, I might also add in the milk aisle, there's also kefir. And I understand, and now they've got the flavor kefir. You can get the strawberry kefir, the blueberry. I'm gonna tell you, I don't want that because it's adding sugar to the kefir. I just get the plain. Now you might say, oh my God, when you taste it, you're gonna be like, oh man. I'm gonna tell you what, you can develop a taste for kefir. And kefir is supposed to be a good probiotic. It's just something to think about. Let's watch the last video.
Here's why sourdough bread is better for you and for your blood glucose levels. Now, sourdough is the oldest form of leavened bread, used as early as 2000 BC by ancient Egyptians. And it's made by fermenting flour and water together rather than adding a yeast. That fermentation process helps to make our calcium, phosphorus, and iron and other minerals more readily available for proper absorption. It also helps to increase the number of prebiotics and probiotic-like properties in the gut as found in this study. It does have lactic acid bacteria, which is good for our healthy microbiome and, of course, our healthy immune system. And sourdough bread has a lower glycemic index, meaning that it's not going to spike your blood glucose levels as compared to white bread or whole wheat bread that is not fermented. Follow for more natural health tips.
All right. And that's it for that post. Oh, let's see. Here's another one. Salt. Media myth. Wow, I guess he's got more. All right, let's keep going. Salt is the enemy. It raises your blood pressure and kills you slowly. Reality. Sodium is essential for nerve function, muscle contraction, and fluid balance. Just don't overdo it. The key balance is about 1 to 2 tablespoons daily, depending on activity level, and is fine for healthy individuals. Let's watch that video.
The average person consumes about 3.5 to 5 grams of sodium a day in a normal diet. And some research recently that suggests that those who are hypertensive or have a history of heart disease should limit their salt intake, and they would realize an improvement. But for people who aren't salt sensitive, there's no indication, no research to suggest that that's necessary. And so we hate to fearmonger the people away who are trying to eat healthy into purposely avoiding salt, because it has all those potential benefits. I, as a personal trainer for 30 years, trained thousands of clients. Many times that have clients come to the gym, maybe you get a middle-aged or upper middle-aged woman on a leg press and do a set and go to stand up and have to hold on to something and be dizzy. Reintroduce some salt, didn't create a significant elevation of blood pressure. They feel better.
All right. Boy, this is getting long. Key points. Moderation. Overeating any food is problematic. Content. Combining these foods with a balanced diet, vegetables, lean proteins, maximizes the benefit. Quality. Opt for minimally processed versions. Grass-fed meat. Dark chocolate instead of milk chocolate. You create your own reality. You're the captain of your ship, the master of your fate. Define identity, understood, provide value, win in your mind. You need critical thinking. Start reading 100 mental models. Okay, so then it goes on. All righty. Woo, that was a long post, wasn't it? But I told you I was going to start hitting you with some health stuff in these videos. I want to get one more news story out of the way. Let's see if I can find it real quick. We did that one. Oh yeah, this was a good one, and we're just going to read this one. I won't even post the text. Over the last decade, Americans have been slandered, fired, charged, and even jailed for simply voicing their opinions. Democrats hate free speech, okay? And if you remember the office, what the hell was it that they tried to set up under the Biden administration with that lunatic woman? I can't remember. I called it, what was in 1984? Anyway, but it looks like, and this is Marco Rubio. He's a neocon, but I'm going to tell you, it sounds like he's doing some good things. I'm announcing the closure of the State Department's Counter Foreign Information Manipulation and Interference, formerly the Global Engagement Center, I never even heard of this before, the GEC, which cost taxpayers more than $50 million per year and actively silenced and censored the voices of Americans they were supposed to be serving. And then this is Mike Benz. Break-in, the U.S. State Department has just placed all 30 full-time staff at the Global Engagement Center's remnant, known as the R-FIMI, on leave, eliminated all 50 full-time staff positions, and delivered a notice to Congress ending RFIMIS existence and $65 million in funding. Well, I'm going to tell you what, the Democrats have got to be having a fit. You're able to speak what you want to speak. A Democrat hates that. They can't stand to hear your opinion. They can't stand any opinion but their own. And boy, if they could throw you in jail for saying the wrong thing, they would. That's it for the video. Unless I think of something on the way back, peace out, stay free. Anyway, we'll see if we can get this on this video. Got to see how long this is going to be. But anyway, I did have another story, and this was Kristi Noem. And I'll read this. DHS Kristi Noem slams the Biden administration as a train wreck for giving Social Security benefits to illegals. In the last 4.5 years, we have had over 9 million people get Social Security numbers that are not United States citizens. You know, and this is what bugs me about old people. You know, when you go into a VFW, you go into American Legion, and you're thinking, you know, look, you people, a lot of you are on Social Security. You need to be paying attention to what the Democrats are doing. And I would try to say that you're getting political. You're getting political. Well, guess what? Don't you think you need to know that? Suppose they bankrupted Social Security. Think of how many seniors would be screwed. And I'm not so sure, but, you know, it's not bankrupt already. So, I mean, you know, I don't understand people. And, you know, I would love it. If you've got a Democrat senior neighbor, which I've got, why don't you go to them and say, you do realize that you were trying to do away with Social Security? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, and that's what Democrats were all about. And they still vote Democrat. That's your meat puppet Democrat for you, man. That's your meat puppet Democrat.
Well, I've met Antonio, and he's brilliant. He's going to be working to make sure that individuals who got Social Security numbers in this country should be using them for the right things, and they shouldn't be on our benefit programs. You know, we have over 6,000 individuals that have been identified through their work already that have been on the terrorist watch list, that they are known criminals.
How does that happen, Madam Secretary? How does that happen?
It happens when you put a train wreck like Joe Biden in the White House, and it's going to be a lot of work to clean it up. But just in the last 4.5 years, we've had over 9 million people get Social Security numbers that are not U.S. citizens. So they may be people who have some sort of legal status, but a lot of them are illegals that were given a Social Security number in just the last 4.5 years that we're going to have to figure out if they should be here, if they are here legally under a program, and if they are here illegally, then they certainly shouldn't be using that Social Security number to be on our programs, and they should be removed or given the opportunity to go home on their own. That's the one thing President Trump would like, is everybody to be given the opportunity to go home if they would wish to.